Martinian, a hunter on a high mountain, buys a wife to deal with his loneliness. Martinian lives in harsh conditions where survival is not easy. Today we will watch a story from a Spanish drama film called The Skin of the Wolf. The story begins and we see Martinian hunting a deer to satisfy his hunger. Martinian lives in a remote mountains area. His only job is to hunt wolves and sell their skins. It is very cold in the mountains and it is very difficult to survive there. Due to this cold, all the people of the village where Martinian had gone to live somewhere else. Martinian also keeps some sheep which he takes care of. Martinian heats the water himself and cooks the food himself. After hunting all day long, he prepares the wolf's skin at night. In this way, he passes his entire winter season alone. After preparing all the wolf skins, Martinian gets ready to go to the village. The path to reach the village was very long and difficult. He had to spend a night in cave. Martinian finally reaches the village and is welcomed by the village bartender. Then he calls the businessman to whom Martinian sells the hides. This time Martinian increases the price of the hide and says that two of the wolves were female sheep that were pregnant. Next year I will find fewer wolves, due to which the supply will reduce and I will charge more than this time. The businessman also agrees with him and buys the skin from him. That night, the bartender asks Martinian what happened to his dog. Martinian says that my dog was killed by wolves and he does not want to raise a new dog again because it will take me a lot of time to train him. Then the bartender says to Martinian, why don't you get married for your loneliness? Martinian tells him, it gets very cold, it becomes very difficult for anyone to live there and it is very difficult to control women also. The bartender says that, you can also have a child. You work so hard in the mountains, you can give all that your children if there is no sun. So after you leave, all your property will be destroyed and your belongings will also be looted. To which Martinian says that, before anything like this happens, I will burn everything to ashes. Coming to the village, Martinian meets a widow. After selling wolf's skin, that woman also had physical needs, so both of them became intimate without saying anything. This continues for several days, after which Martinian goes back to the mountain, where he remembers the bartender's words again and again, and then Martinian returns to the village. The girl with whom he had intimacy, her name is Pasculia and her father's name is Marshall. Martinian talks about marriage with Pasculia's father. In return, Martinian gives wolf's skin and some money to Pasculia's father, and in return, the Marshal sells his daughter Pasculia. Martinian then brings Pasculia with him to the mountain. Pasculia helps him in his work. They start living together and have an intimate relationship and continues his work, but Pasculia's health begins to deteriorate. One day she tells Martinian that she is pregnant and Martinian becomes happy and starts making things for the coming baby. Pasculia asks Martinian, don't you feel like going somewhere else from here? Martinian says, I like this place. Pasculia says, you are alone here. What if something happens to you? So what will you do? Martinian says that you have to learn to live here and you too will slowly get used to it. And now I am not alone, you are with me. One day Martinian goes hunting. When he returns home, he finds Pasculia laying unconscious on the ground. Her condition worsened due to her pregnancy and illness. Martinian takes care of her. At the same time, snowfall also increases, which causes a lot of trouble to Pasculia. A few days later, when Pasculia gives birth to a child, both Pasculia and the child die as soon as the child is born. This leaves Martinian devastated. He breaks the toys he had made for the child in anger. Then he turns into a cow for Pasculia and his child, and in anger, he starts breaking everything around. After this, he ties Pasculia's body with a cloth and takes it to the marshal. Martinian says, you knew she was sick and already pregnant, yet you sent her with me. Marshal says that she was a widow. If everyone had known that she was pregnant, then the villagers would have killed us too. Martinian asks, what will you tell the villager now that I killed him? Marshal says, no one will know. I thought Pasculia's child would be yours, and this will solve the whole problem. Martinian says that your daughter loved you more and Pasculia came with me just because of you. You never thought about that. Now Martinian gets angry and he says, I want all the money I had given in exchange for Pasculia and I will come back next winter to collect the money. Saying this, Martinian leaves and goes back into the mountains. After this, he burns all of Pasculia's clothes and resumes his work. He does his work all winter long, and then he gets to the Marshal. Marshal sees Martinian and runs inside the house. Martinian also follows him inside the house, and Marshal shows him his other daughter Adela. He tells Martinian that if you marry my other daughter Adela, then she is ready to live with you. Then Martinian examines Adela and sees that she too is not ill. He agrees to marry Adela. They get married the next day. Marshal speaks to Adela that now you are Martinian's wife and you will always be Martinian's. You can't run away from him. If you try to run away, Martinian will come back and kill us. And while giving the leaves of a poisonous plant, he says, if you find it too difficult to live with Martinian, so you can commit suicide by using these poisonous leaves. After this, both of them set out for the mountains. The path is very difficult for Adela, but Martinian takes care of her and carries all his luggage himself so that Adela doesn't suffer too much. After which both of them reaches there, and on the same night Martinian gets intimate with Adela. He is very forceful, which scares Adela. But slowly Adela tries to adjust to Martinian's routine. A few days later, when Martinian was about to go to the village, Adela tells him that if you meet my mom and dad, then tell them that I am fine. To which Martinian says that you will slowly learn to live here, don't worry. It's a little difficult to adjust to everything, but it's not too bad. Then after a few days, he leaves for the village. While leaving, Martinian says to Adela, take care of yourself because snakes keep coming out there. Adela is very afraid of sleeping alone at night. One day, she was wandering around. She gets very upset about this. A few days later, Martinian returns and finds a gift that Adela's mother had sent him, containing the same poisonous leaves. For a day or two, Adela doesn't ask Martinian anything and gets busy with work, but she can't stop herself. Adela asks Martinian if Pascula also had a small crayon, did your child also have one? To which Martinian says that they are just holes in the ground. They do not mean anything. Adela becomes even more upset by this. Martinian says that your dad had sent your sister away just like that. She was sick and pregnant too. Because of this, she dies. But Adela does not believe his words and she starts hating Martinian very much. She cries a lot. One day she realizes that my stomach is coming out and I am pregnant. She starts getting very angry. Adela wanted to hide this from Martinian, but he sees it. Adela feels weak due to pregnancy, so Martinian does not allow her to do any work and he tries his best to take care of her. Adela begins to believe that Martinian has killed Pasculia. Due to this, Adela's hatred for Martinian increases further. Now she did not like living with Martinian at all. While Martinian goes to work, Adela makes tea using a poisonous plant. Martinian drinks tea every day after having food. So she starts mixing the poisonous leaf in the tea. Now Martinian gradually begins to feel big and work every day. Now he also starts making a cry for the coming child. But on the other side, Adela keeps giving poisonous tea to Martinian every day. Martinian becomes so weak that he can no longer go near Adela. One day, Martinian goes hunting and taking advantage of this opportunity, Adela tries to run away. Martinian had set traps all over the mountain to catch wolves. Adela gets injured after getting trapped in the same trap. She tries to get out of it. But later, Adela becomes unconscious when Martinian reaches home. He does not find Adela at home. Martinian is unable to find her and becomes very upset. Now after searching everywhere, he finally finds Adela, still breathing, but her condition worsens. Martinian warms her and cares of her. This incident leads to Adela having a miscarriage. Now after a day or two, Adela gets better. Martinian has now understand that Adela does not want to live with me. Martinian tells her that winter is coming and the day will become shorter. If you want to go from here, then go. Adela cried a lot and now she is free. The next day, Martinian wakes up and finds that Adela has gone and now he is alone. He makes tea for himself and then he suspects that maybe something is mixed in this tea. He checks all the teapots and finds poisonous plants in them. He understands what Adela had done to me. After this, he sits down on the crib that Martinian had made for his future child and he feels very bad. Now gradually his condition starts worsening even more. Also, no one could take care of sheep. So they left from there. And at last Martinian weeps bitterly and dies that very winter. Martinian had lived his whole life like a wild man. He did not know how to express his love. That is why he could not express his love to Adela. Adela was also forcefully sold by her dad. She held Martinian responsible for the death of Pasculia and her child. With this, the story ends here. So friends, how did you like this story? Do tell us in the comments, and also do not forget to tell which movie story would you like to hear after this. If you liked our explanation, then support us by liking, sharing and subscribing to the video. See you soon with another interesting story. Till then, bye bye, take care.